My girlfriend sold my rare comic collection without permission to pay her debts. So, I had her arrested and cut her out of my life. Now her family says I'm the villain. I'm 29, and I've been collecting comics for most of my life. It's not just some random hobby. I've spent years building a collection that means a lot to me. Some of the comics I own are rare and worth a good amount of money, but more than that, they're tied to specific memories. I remember which ones I got from my dad before he passed away, which ones I saved for as a kid, and the ones I hunted down for years at conventions. This collection was something I was really proud of, and honestly, I thought the person I was dating would respect that. Turns out I was wrong. I was with my ex-girlfriend for about 3 years. When we first started dating, everything seemed fine. She was funny, smart, and we had a lot in common, or so I thought. She moved in with me after about a year because her landlord sold the house she was renting, and she didn't have anywhere else to go. I was happy to help her out, and it made sense at the time. I wasn't charging her rent or anything because I figured we were building a life together. Looking back, I can see how things slowly started to spiral. At first, it was little things. She'd rearranged the apartment without asking. She moved some of my comics to the closet because, according to her, they were cluttering up the living room. I pushed back and told her not to touch my stuff without asking, and she acted like I was overreacting. "It's not like I'm throwing them out," she'd say. "I'm just making the space look better for both of us." It felt controlling, but I let it go. She didn't really care about my hobbies. She'd make fun of me for being excited about new releases or spending money on rare issues. She'd say stuff like, "You're a grown man spending hundreds of dollars on comic books? Don't you think that's a little childish?" I didn't let her comments get to me because I've dealt with people like that before. Not everyone understands, and that's fine, but she didn't stop there. One time, I bought a comic I'd been looking for forever. It was an early issue of Fantastic Four, and I got a great deal on it. I came home, showed it to her, and instead of being happy for me, she went off about how I could have used the money to take her out or put it toward a vacation. She didn't seem to get that it wasn't just about the money. It was about finding something I was passionate about. She just didn't care. It got worse when she started interfering with my plans. If there was a comic expo or a convention I wanted to go to, she'd suddenly plan something important on the same day. Once, she booked a weekend trip for us that just so happened to overlap with an event I'd been talking about for months. When I brought it up, she acted like it was a coincidence and said, "I guess I'll just cancel everything then. I didn't realize your cartoons were more important than me." I ended up going to the convention anyway, and she gave me the silent treatment for days. She also had this habit of borrowing my stuff without asking. My tablet, my camera, my tools, whatever she needed, she'd just grab it. Half the time, I wouldn't even realize something was missing until I went to use it. Once, she took my dad's old leather jacket and gave it to her brother. When I finally got it back, it was ruined. I told her how much it meant to me, and she just shrugged it off like it wasn't a big deal. "It's just a jacket," she said. "You're being so dramatic." After that, I started locking up the things that mattered to me. But nothing prepared me for what she did to my comic collection. One day, I came home from work, and the shelves where I kept my comics were empty. Every single one was gone. I thought maybe she was rearranging again or something, so I called her. She acted casual, like it was no big deal. "Oh, I moved them to make more space," she said. "They're in my car. I'll bring them back later." Something felt off, so I pressed her about it. She got defensive and started making excuses. First, she said the car was too messy to get them right now. Then she said she didn't have the keys. It didn't add up. When she wasn't home the next day, I went out to her car to check for myself. It was empty. That's when I started calling around to local pawn shops and collectible stores. I was desperate to find out where my comics had gone. After a few calls, I hit the jackpot, or what felt like the opposite of that. A store owner told me a woman matching her description had sold a bunch of comics to him a few days earlier. I went to the shop, and there they were, some of the most valuable issues from my collection, sitting on his shelves with price tags on them. When I asked how much she'd sold them for, I wanted to scream. She'd let them go for a fraction of what they were worth. Thousands of dollars worth of comics, some of them irreplaceable, gone for maybe a couple $100. I was furious, but I managed to stay calm enough to explain the situation to the shop owner. He was really understanding and said he'd hold the comics for me while I sorted things out. When she got home that night, I confronted her. "Why the hell did you sell my comics?" She didn't even try to deny it. "I needed the money," she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "You wouldn't help me with my credit card debt, so I had to take care of it myself." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So, you just decided to steal from me? Those weren't yours to sell." She rolled her eyes. "You don't even use them. They were just sitting there. It's not like you can't buy them back eventually." I didn't even know how to respond to that. "You've got to be kidding me," I said. "Do you have any idea how much those comics meant to me? You didn't even ask. You just took them." She had the audacity to act like I was the one being unreasonable. "Oh, come on. You're acting like I sold your car or something. They're just comics. It's not the end of the world." Her complete lack of remorse was the breaking point for me. I told her I was calling the police, and she laughed in my face. "What are you going to do? Tell them I sold your toys? Good luck with that." But that's exactly what I did. I stepped into the other room and called the cops. I explained everything. How she'd sold my comics without my permission, the proof I had that they were mine, and the information from the pawn shop. The dispatcher said they'd send officers over to talk to both of us. When the police arrived, she tried to play the victim. "He's being ridiculous," she said. "We lived together. I thought it was fine to sell them. I needed the money for something important." One of the officers turned to me and asked if I had proof of ownership. I showed them the photos of my collection, the receipts I'd kept over the years, and even the appraisal documents for some of the more valuable issues. Then I told them about the pawn shop owner, who confirmed she was the one who sold them. The officers pulled her aside to talk, and I could hear her getting angrier by the second. "I live here too. It's not stealing if we share everything," she shouted. The cops didn't seem convinced. They explained to her that what she did was still theft, regardless of our relationship, because the items she sold were mine and mine alone. When they told her she might be charged, her attitude completely changed. She started crying, saying it was all a misunderstanding and that she'd pay me back. I told the officers I wanted to press charges. She went ballistic. "You're seriously going to ruin my life over some stupid comic books," she screamed. I just stood there and said, "You ruined your own life the moment you decided to steal from me." The cops took her to the station for questioning. I stayed behind to process everything. It was a surreal moment, standing in my now empty apartment, realizing just how far she'd gone and how much I'd let slide before this. The next day, I went back to the pawn shop to recover as many of the comics as I could. The owner was kind enough to hold them for me, but a few of the rarest issues had already been sold. It stung knowing I'd never get those back. I started piecing together other things she'd done that I'd overlooked at the time. Like the time she'd borrowed my tablet and returned it with a cracked screen, claiming it was like that when she found it. Or when she pressured me into splitting the cost of her car repairs even though she hadn't chipped in for rent in over a year. One incident that came back to me was the time she gave away a pair of sneakers I'd gotten signed by one of my favorite athletes. I'd told her they were sentimental and not to be touched, but when her friend mentioned needing shoes for a charity drive, she handed them over without asking. When I confronted her about it, she said, "Well, you weren't wearing them. It's not like they were doing any good just sitting there." Another time, she organized a cleaning spree while I was at work and threw out some old magazines and collectibles I'd stored in the closet. She told me, "You don't even know what you have in there. If you didn't notice it was gone, you didn't need it." That should have been a red flag, but I didn't want to fight over it, so I let it go. Looking back, these weren't just isolated incidents. They were part of a pattern. She had no respect for my boundaries or the things that mattered to me. After she was charged with felony theft, the total value of the comics exceeded $10,000. Her family started reaching out to me. Her sister called, accusing me of ruining her life and saying I should have handled it privately. Her mom sent me a long email about how everyone makes mistakes and that I should have given her a chance to make things right. I didn't respond to any of them. She showed up at my door once, begging me to drop the charges. She was crying, saying she'd pay me back and that she'd learned her lesson. I told her it was too late. "You didn't just steal my comics," I said. You stole my trust, my respect, and 3 years of my life. I'm done. I closed the door in her face. I spent the next few weeks focusing on moving forward. I changed the locks, boxed up her remaining stuff, and left it at her sister's house. I couldn't stand having any trace of her in my apartment anymore. The pawn shop owner stayed true to his word and gave me a discount to buy back most of the comics, but the ones I lost still haunt me. Those weren't just items, they were memories, a part of my identity. I started rebuilding my collection little by little. It's not the same, but it feels good to reclaim something that was taken from me. As for her, I don't know what happened after the charges were filed. I assume she had to deal with court and the fallout from her actions, but I didn't stick around to find out. What I do know is that I'm never letting anyone walk all over me like that again. The whole experience taught me to stand up for myself and protect the things that matter to me, whether it's my hobbies, my boundaries, or my peace of mind. I'm finally free of her and her entitlement, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe again.